I need to take a break here because I'm just extremely exhausted from training camp. But I want to hear your thoughts on this Gator documentary before I get into it.
I'm 2 episodes in, and I am fairly disappointed by it. It does a good job at showcasing sort of some of the broader storylines, if I may. I mean, obviously Tim Tebow heavily featured. It got to a point where literally like it's just he's awesome. Like it's hard to believe that he is this pure of a person, and he really is. Like it's incredible. But obviously I'm disappointed by so many of the things that they've left out. Most notably, Percy Harvin is like an afterthought when in reality he was one of the most dominant players in college football during his time, and he's just a byline. Aaron Hernandez, of course, is really not mentioned. Pouncey brothers are not mentioned at all, really. I mean, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I don't know if they really mentioned them later, but they've not been included yet. Cam Newton, never mentioned. Like, it's upsetting, Like, so many people came to this, like, I'll throw examples on that I mentioned to you off air earlier this week, Colin. BSI on HBO Max about Bishop Sycamore High School. Really great. It goes really in depth. Bishop Sycamore BSI is what people wanted Swamp Kings to be. Like they went down into the dirt, the nitty gritty, and really talked about all the stuff that instead of just, in my opinion, I mean, you may think differently. I just felt it was a PR fluff piece for Urban Meyer for Swamp Kings.
Yeah, it's great stuff, Jack. I think so. As a former Florida Gator, I was there 12 and 13. I came on the heels of all of that excitement and fun. I was able to watch that documentary in full, and that was one of the takeaways. Was I understand why I went there. I understand why there was the allure around the Florida Gator football team. It showed the swamp. It showed the fans. It showed the excitement. But overall, for Untold being what the documentary was called, I was very disappointed. I really was. I thought it was a puff piece for Florida football. I thought it was a puff piece for Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow. And I get all that, and I understand all that, and they have to agree probably to what was said. But overall, there was a ton left out. The fix to me, because everyone, you named it, they're missing this guy, missing that guy. Here's the fix. HBO or Netflix needs to get a hold of it. It needs to be 10, 15 episodes where episode 1, they talk about the culture of the program, how it changed. Episode 2, they talk about, the coaching staff, Urban Meyer's health issues, where these coaches went after Florida. Like, it's crazy, the expansion. Some guys got in trouble. Some guys are now head coaches in college football. Like, huge tree. Talk about the social and the party life. Talk about the swamp, the stadium, the SEC culture. Like, explain the whole thing to me. Explain players breaking the law. Talk about the lawyer in Gainesville that got the guys out of trouble. Like, these are all episodes to me, not just snippets. You can't just get this done in 3-4 episodes. Talk about the financial impact that Florida Gator football had on the university. The application rate probably went through the roof. The money now from boosters through the roof. New businesses in town. What's not there anymore currently after that era. There's stuff that is not there that was built during that time. The basketball team plays a huge role in this. They won back-to-back national championships during that football era of success. The campus was popping off, right? There's a lot of things that left out. Obviously, Aaron Hernandez should be its own episode. Recruiting all those players should be its own episode. And then lastly, something that I think a lot of people don't realize when they're watching this, because it seems not that long ago, but it was a while ago. Phones weren't around then. Very rarely. It was flip phones, right? So the content that you see now from even when I played there in 12 and 13, I still have those pictures saved in my phone, those videos saved on my phone. But back then, that was 6 years before that. Twitter wasn't even out then, right? I don't even think Facebook just happened. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. But that would be how I would do it. I would do 10, 15 episodes of just little things about Florida football, because they're not just little things. There's lots to unpack there. Lots. So that's how I would attack it with that overall great approach. But that's great points out of you, Jack.
And also, I mean, with Tim Tebow, you talk about, obviously, both kind of mentioned a little bit of fluff piece for Tim Tebow. It honestly would have even done better things for his character and his ego if they talked about all this, and basically he was literally like that Spider-Man meme of him like holding the train together with his hands.
He
That was
was.
literally Tebow with the Florida football program.
The
I
Florida
mean,
football program was a mess down here, and then up here was Tebow. And all the stuff they say about him, guys, I'm not going to get into all of it. That's all true. Like Tebow is real as it gets. Like what you see there is the same Tim that I met, is the same Tim that everybody's had the opportunity to cross paths with. The guy's just different. Like he's different. Like it seems corny and all, but you want to talk about a successful individual, like say what you want about his professional football career. I mean, he still won a playoff game. He still was a first round pick. He's still obviously a hell of a talent, and things just wouldn't go right with his arm, at the next level. But, I think you can add in, just the quarterbacks. My one note I missed here was I think the quarterbacks in general at Florida should be their own episode. I mean, they recruited Jordan Reed to play quarterback. They recruited Trey Burton to play quarterback. This was all Urban Meyer. They recruited John Brantley was a top quarterback in the country. He went there. Cam Newton, Tim Tebow. I mean, that's ridiculous type guys. So there's stuff I'm forgetting, but I play with some Gators up in Minnesota, and we're all talking about it. Like, man, they're leaving all the good stuff out. I'm not saying you have to go crazy because there's some crazy stories. Trust me, crazy stories. But they didn't even scratch the surface. They just talked about articles they saw online, and there was no antagonist during that show. Like I know Pat Dooley, he's a great beat writer. Gainesville Sun. He does Gainesville Radio. ESPN Radio is a great Gator. I've done radio with him down there. He's a great, great man. He just retired. He's tons of Gator knowledge. They took 4 of his snippets and it was all him saying a few things, and that was it. There needs to be someone from Gainesville saying, no, this place was crazy, and being the bad guy, because that's truly what happened. I mean, even Urban said it at times. He's like, man, I felt like I couldn't control the team at times. Like this was really getting off the rails. So I digress, Jack.
Yeah, and one last thing on that too. It's something that actually kind of Cam Newton brought up and kind of brought to my attention too, like when his TikTok of everything. I feel like they did Chris Leak dirty too.
Yeah.
Leak was very good, and it just felt like obviously you got to paint the picture of who Tebow is, and really almost nobody can really compare to Tebow in college, but Chris Leak wasn't bad by any measure. I mean, you look, he started that won that first national championship game. He was the starting quarterback in that beatdown at Ohio State. It's hard to say he's not a good quarterback when you put on that type of performance.
No doubt. No doubt. He was a great college football quarterback. So